If there's any single ruler in African history whom you can call the Napoleon of Black Africa, it would be Shaka Zulu. Not only did he expand the size of his empire by military conquest and absorption, he also revolutionized warfare in Africa, developing some of the earliest and most effective military strategies and tactics, which you can compare to what Sun Tzu would teach centuries later in China. Well, enough of my ramblings. Let us get into the story of the warrior king, Shaka Zulu. Most kings are born into comfort, destined for crowns and thrones. But Shaka Zulu was born in exile. He was mocked as a child. He grew up with nothing but shame and rejection, and yet that very pain carved him into one of the most brilliant and ruthless leaders Africa has ever seen. This is the story of the boy who rose from humiliation to command an empire, a warrior who reshaped the art of war, a king whose roar still echoes through history. This is the epic of Shaka Zulu, the Lion of the Zulu nation. The year was around 1787 in the rolling green hills of present-day KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. The air was heavy with the scent of rain. In the homestead of the Zulu chief, Senzangakuna, a child was born. The boy's name was Shaka. His mother, Nandi, was proud, fierce, and beautiful, but their union had been forbidden. Whispers filled the homestead. The chief's child, born out of wedlock. This boy has no rightful place. Senzangakona bowed to pressure. Nandi and her child were cast out. With a bundle of blankets and a baby at her breast, Nandi walked into exile. Her back was straight, her eyes burning with defiance. As they wandered, she held her son close and whispered, "Shaka, you are not a mistake. They call you illegitimate, but I call you destined. Remember this. One day they will kneel before you." Those words sank deep into young Shaka's heart. Exile was cruel. Nandi and Shaka were unwanted guests in every village. They lived in mud huts at the edge of kraals, shunned by the people. Boys mocked Shaka. They laughed at his thin frame, called him a bastard, threw stones at him. But humiliation forged steel in his soul. They fought back. If they mocked him, he fought them with sticks. If they threw stones, he threw them back harder. When others gave him scraps, he went hungry rather than beg. He trained his body relentlessly, running across hills barefoot until his feet were hard as leather, throwing spears at trees until his arms trembled, wrestling boys twice his size and refusing to yield. Each insult was fuel. Each defeat was a lesson. One day, Shaka and his mother met an old, lame man by the roadside. "Please, help us," Nandi asked. "We have nothing to eat." The man looked at Shaka, his gaze sharp. "Yo, boy, go fetch water and wood." Shaka rushed off. The old man chuckled. "Fetch a stone as well," he said. Shaka returned with a heavy rock. The old man smiled and handed the boy a spear. "Take this spear, stab the stone." Shaka frowned. "But why?" he asked. "That rock won't budge." The old man gestured with his chin. "Try!" Shaka grunted, braced himself, and thrust the spear. The sharp point glanced off the stone, sending splinters flying. The old man nodded slowly. "Your aim is true, but your grip is tight. A warrior does not hold a spear like that. He lets the weapon flow through him like water." He demonstrated, holding the spear lightly. "Almost, Lasili. See how relaxed I am? Now try A." Shaka copied the stance. He felt a strange lightness. He lunged again. This time, the spear sank into the stone, not smoothly, but with explosive force. A grin split his face. "So that is how it is done," he said, eyes shining. The old man placed a hand on his shoulder. "You will be a great warrior, Shaka. But remember, a warrior is not made by strength alone. He is made by strategy and discipline." Those words became a mantra for Shaka. In time, Shaka grew into a tall, muscular man with a wide chest and shoulders. He had a round head with a prominent forehead, high cheekbones and piercing black eyes. His features were not handsome in the conventional sense, but there was a wild, untamed beauty about him. a reflection of the storm that raged within. When Amobe did so with a quiet grace that hinted at the deadly power coiled inside him. Years of relentless training had honed his body into a weapon, ready to strike at a moment's notice. His limbs were strong and supple, capable of feats of strength and agility that left others breathless. Shaka wanted to be part of an army that would acknowledge his skill, not slight him for his origins. His opportunity came when the powerful Methethwa Confederacy invited warriors from neighboring clans to compete in a grand competition, a showcase of martial prowess. Dingiswayo, the charismatic leader of the Methethwas, hosted the event. He was a man of few words, but his presence commanded respect, and his strategic mind was already shaping the Methethwas into a formidable force. Shaka returned home and practiced day and night, determined to excel in the trials ahead. When the day of the competition arrived, Shaka was ready. He walked onto the field with a quiet confidence that turned heads. His bearing was unlike anyone else there. He was a stranger, and his every move announced it. There were 3 main tests of strength, speed, and skill, each designed to push a warrior to his limits. First, there was the throwing competition. Warriors took turns hurling long spears at distant targets, aiming for accuracy and distance. Second, there was the wrestling match. Here, technique and raw power were put to the test as warriors grappled and maneuvered to pin their opponents. Finally, there was the bull-like charge. Warriors charged at one another, locking shields and testing the strength and resilience of their armor. When it was Shaka's turn to throw spears, he stepped forward, his movements economical and precise. As he released the spear, it arced through the air, a blur of steel against the bright sky. It landed, burying itself deep in the target, far beyond the reach of any other competitor. A hush fell over the crowd. Shaka simply picked up another spear and repeated the feat, until he had thrown more spears than anyone else, each one a testament to his unmatched skill. During the wrestling matches, Shaka faced opponents bigger and stronger than him, but he used his smaller frame to his advantage, slipping under bulky arms, twisting out of grips, always ready with a swift counter-move. He pinned one opponent after another, basking briefly in the cheers of the crowd before moving on to his next challenge. The bull-like charge was a display of controlled chaos. Warriors bellowed and crashed into one another, their bodies a flurry of motion as they sought to break through their opponent's defenses. But Shaka seemed to move with preternatural calm amidst the maelstrom. He parried blows, lunged, riposted, his movements fluid and deadly, leaving his opponents bruised and disoriented. Dingiswayo watched Shaka intently. He saw not just skill, but a certain mindset, a cold determination that set Shaka apart. As the competitions drew to a close, it was clear that Shaka had stunned everyone. His combination of finesse and raw power was unprecedented, but it was his demeanor that truly caught Dingiswayo's attention. In a sea of boisterous warriors, Shaka was a study in quiet intensity, his eyes never wavering, his movements precise and efficient. Impressed by Shaka's performance, Dingiswayo offered him a place in his elite military force. For Shaka, it was a chance to hone his skills further and maybe find a place where he truly belonged. He accepted the offer and soon found himself part of a brotherhood of warriors bound by loyalty and a shared dedication to excellence. Years passed. Shaka learned the ways of the Methethwa army, proving himself not just as a warrior, but as a tactician and leader. He rose through the ranks quickly, gaining the respect and admiration of his peers and superiors. But his shadow always lingered over Shaka, a longing for something more, a desire to carve his own path and forge his own destiny. Little did he know that his journey was about to take a dramatic turn, leading him back to his roots and to the destiny that awaited him as the future king of the Zulus. If you liked this episode, please subscribe and support us so we can keep telling stories like this one. Until next time, stay free.